Sup, B? I have a story to tell, and it's pre-typed, so none of that 10 minutes in between Greentext will occur. All you need to do is sit back and read. Or get me to do it. Be me, 12. Loser and loner. Didn't have many friends or social life. Best friend and only friend had moved after 6th grade, so I was pretty lonely. Mum always tried to get me to make friends, because she started to realise I wasn't the social butterfly my older sister was. But I was just bad at talking to people. Anyways, 7th grade started, and I had no plan for things to get better. That was until I met this girl in my 5th period science class. Let's call her Deb. Deb was this cutie 3.14 emo light-skinned Mexican girl. Typical, I only wear black and listen to punk type of emo. Her parents crossed the border and gave birth to her in the States. But they were deported a few months later. Basically raised her all her life in a foster family. Deb was just as socially retarded as I was. Whenever we had partner work, we always ended up together because neither of us had friends. First thing she ever said to me was, "So, you're a loner too?" I guess. Something like that. That's cool. I think everyone talks too much anyways. Shouldn't be a surprise that we became best friends within no time. Spent most, if not all of middle school together. We were inseparable. I always knew Deb had feelings for me, more than just a friend. But I just rejected the idea of us being together because it would be kinda weird. Despite this, we still hung out whenever we could. Eventually, me and Deb made it to high school. Didn't change the fact that we were a social outcast. In 9th grade, Deb and me went to this construction site and smoked pot for the first time in this underground concrete tunnel. Pick related, what it was. That concrete tunnel became our signature hangout spot to smoke and chill. Sometimes when Deb was high, she would tell me about how she was depressed. Sometimes she would start crying. She told me about how she would cut herself. Never asked why she was depressed. Thought that if she's able to tell me this, then it was good for her to vent. Always comforted her and held her when she did this. She would always thank me for being her friend. Looking back, I probably should have said the same. Me and Deb pretty much smoked and fucked around until our junior year. Until one day, during summer, decided I was tired of being a loser. Cleared up my acne with Proactive. Cut my shoulder length hair. Got a gym membership. Also worked on how to talk to people to try to be more social and outgoing. I made a lot of friends my junior year. Before I knew it, I was hanging out with an entire group of cool kids. Also managed to get my first girlfriend. Just because I started hanging out with these new people doesn't mean I forgot about Deb. Always invited her to hang out with us during school, but Deb just got out too much. She preferred we hang out, just us two. Also, Deb wasn't looking too good at this point. She wore raggy clothes and just looked unhealthy. She looked like life had let her down. Despite this, she was still my best friend. One day, I was hanging out with friends and Deb in the hallway when my GF came and kissed me like usual. Except Deb was never around when we did so. Suddenly, I feel something tug me away from my group of friends. Deb was dragging me by the arm down the hallway. Anon, why the fuck did you kiss her? Because she's my girlfriend? But what about us? I thought you were okay with us just being friends. I thought you loved me. I do, but Deb, you just act too clingy and kinda bitchy lately. By this point, she's visibly teary-eyed. She looks angry teary-eyed. By this point, we've caused a scene and a few people are watching us. Friends and GF walk over to watch us. I thought Deb was about to punch me. Instead, she reaches out and tries to kiss me. I shove her back. What's wrong with you? Anon, please just... I think it's best that we aren't friends anymore. She looks me in the eyes with her big brown teary eyes for about 10 seconds before she walks off. Should mention that me and Deb have been fighting a lot prior to this about our friendship. GF and friends tell me about how I made the right decision. Convinced myself I did. Never saw much of Deb after we got into that fight. Sometimes I saw her in the hallway, but we never spoke a word to each other. A friend who had class with her told us she missed almost every day. Soon learned she dropped out for good. Eventually I graduated. By this point, I'm 19. Didn't know what to do with my life, so I got a job at a local hardware store, just until I figured out what I wanted to do. Friends and girlfriend all left for college. Ended up never speaking to any of them again. Ended up all alone again. Whenever I was alone, I always thought of Deb. Sometimes after work, I would walk into that concrete tunnel we would hang out in, and I would just sit there. But she was never there. I Thought she just disappeared off the face of the planet. One day, I'm feeling particularly down. Skip work and take a walk to the concrete tunnel. When I get there was this homeless man sitting inside the tunnel. Just about to walk back home when I heard someone's voice. Anon? I look over and see Deb staring at me in the eyes. I just walk over and pull her up to her feet. Give her the longest and biggest hug I could. Didn't say a word to each other, but I could hear her sobbing. I was crying too. Deb looked horrible. Her clothes were torn and dirty. She was tiny and looked like she hadn't eaten in weeks. When I saw her arms, I could tell by all the rashes she had been doing drugs. Jesus Christ, Deb.jpg. I told her we were going back to her house, but she was so tired I had to carry her most of the way there. When I got to my house, my mum was out of town. I gave Deb a towel and told her to take a shower. She gave me her dirty clothes, but I just threw them away because they weren't salvageable. She came out 40 minutes later. She looked like the Deb I used to know. Gave her some of my clothes and we went downstairs and ate spaghetti while watching TV. She didn't say anything the entire time. Eventually, we went upstairs and she asked me where she was going to sleep. I offered my bed and I would sleep in the guest room. Went to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, she was in my bed, wrapped around me. I got out of bed and drove to McDonald's to get us breakfast. When I got back, she was still sleeping. I woke her up and went downstairs to eat. After we finished, I asked her about what happened. She told me how she was bullied, and eventually she just dropped out. She said people would call her a non-slut puppy, and some other stupid shit. I had no idea about any of this. Told me her foster parents kicked her out when they found out she was smoking pot. They were super religious Republican assholes. She had to live off what little money she saved up. When she was homeless, she got into harder drugs. She said when I found her, she'd been homeless for about 2.5 months. Told her she can stay with me until she can get back on her feet. Tell her to promise she'll stay clean. She promises. I talked to my boss at the hardware store, and I managed to get Deb a job as a cashier. Mum was cool with Deb staying, as long as she helped around the house. Whenever me and Deb had free time, we sat on my bed, talking and joking like we used to. Sometimes we would just walk around the woods near our house. Every Friday after work, me and Deb would buy fast food and go to the old concrete tunnel we hung out in and eat and listen to music. I felt like a 9th grader again, because I had my Deb back. Things were good at this point. Me and Deb worked together and she stayed clean. After about 4 months, Deb was able to rent a cheap apartment by my neighborhood. I helped her move her clothes and some old furniture we had into her apartment. I gave Deb half my paycheck to help pay for anything she needs. All was good. Fast forward maybe a month. Deb doesn't show up for work one day. Doesn't even call in sick. Don't think much of it. Eventually, she's missed 4 days. I'm obviously pissed. Whenever I went to her apartment, she was never there or didn't answer. Neither of us could afford a phone, so I couldn't call her. Worried and pissed at the same time. Boss tells me she's fired. Now I'm just pissed. She shows up 2 weeks after missing her first day. She stumbles a few feet in the front door before I grab her and pull her back outside. She's obviously fucked up on something. Where the fuck have you been going? I'm going to work, silly. You don't have a job. You've been gone for 2 weeks. What? I've only missed like 3 days, Anon. You need to leave. Not before I collect my paycheck, Anon. I grab her and throw her into my truck. She doesn't fight back, because she's too fucked up to. I drove her back to her place to help her in her apartment. When I open her apartment door, it looks like something from a movie. Trash was lying everywhere, furniture flipped and a TV left on. Roaches were crawling anywhere where food had been left out for probably a week. I see baggie with rocks in it sitting on the kitchen cabinet. Grab it and flush it down the toilet. When I finished, Deb was already passed out on the floor next to the door. Grab a piece of paper from my truck and write down to come get me when she's ready to clean up. Lock door and go back to work. Fast forward a week. Just finished my shift and heading home. When I pull up to my house, I see Deb sitting on the front porch. She comes up to my truck and says she's ready to stop. She says I can drive us to her apartment and we can talk while she cooks. Kinda pissed off, but I drove us back to her place anyways. When we get to her apartment, everything's been cleaned up. Wasn't exactly homey, but much better than before. I sit on the sofa and watch some action movie on Spike while she cooks pasta. When we sat down, I didn't say anything because I was still pissed. She breaks the silence halfway through our meal. Anon, I do the things I do because they help me take away the pain I feel, but only temporarily. I have mixed emotions at this point. Deb, I don't know what goes on in your head, but I can promise you that I'll love you no matter what. And it really does break my heart when I see you so fucked up you can barely even tell if me or a stranger was bringing you back to your house. She drops her fork and just starts crying. I'm so sorry, Anon. I'm so sorry I did this to you. I'm getting choked up at this point. It's hard seeing the person you love destroying themselves. We get up and hug it out for a good 5 minutes, just crying into each other. Afterwards, we sat down and cuddled on the sofa while watching another shitty movie on Spike until 2 AM before I had to get home. Tell her I have to work tomorrow. We get up and I hug her goodbye at the door. Tell her I'll talk to her boss about rehiring her. But before I leave, I just look her into her eyes. A sudden feeling I've never had comes over me. Just reach out and kiss her. She grabs my head and I grab her waist. Probably made out at her door for 10 minutes. She pulls me by my shirt back into her apartment. Pulls me into her bedroom and we start stripping. Fucked all night. No, we made love. Who am I kidding? We fucked. When we woke up the next morning, the first thing she says is, I've waited since sophomore year for that. We both laugh, then cuddle until I have to go to work. When I finish my shift at work, I ask to sit down with my boss. Tell her about Deb and how she could maybe consider rehiring her again. Boss is cool as fuck and realizes Deb has problems, but if she's changed, then she could come in first thing next Monday for her old position. Fast forward 4 months. Me and Deb had our ups and downs. We weren't a couple. And when I told Deb I didn't want a relationship, she was disappointed. But we still loved each other nonetheless. I was happy, and as far as I could tell, so was Deb. By this point, Deb managed to stay clean and keep up her job. So proud of that JPEG. One Friday after work, decided it would be a good idea to surprise her at her house with drinks. Deb was a drug addict, but not an alcoholic. Yeah, I know alcohol's a drug, but you know what I mean. Deb finished her shift earlier than me. When I finished my shift, it was about 7:30 PM. Get in my truck and drive to her apartment. Get to her apartment, and her doors are wide open. Walk in, and the first thing I see is an empty baggie on the kitchen table. Sit bottle of vodka on the table. Start running around apartment looking for Deb. Find her sitting in the bathtub. She looks up at me. Anon, I swear I'm not on drugs. I'm just tired, you know? So fucking furious. Drag her from the tub and sit her in a chair at the kitchen table. Yell at her if everything we did was a joke. No, Anon, I really appreciate everything, but life sucks, and I thought it would just get better, but it hasn't. Why the fuck haven't you killed yourself, Deb? You think I haven't tried before? After you'd left me in high school? After everything I've done? I'm fucked up, Anon. We both know that. I'm so mad I'm pacing back and forth between the kitchen and the living room when I see a gun lying on the kitchen stovetop. Were you gonna shoot yourself? Only if things got out of control. Like they are now? No, Anon. Everything's fine. It's been much worse. I slam the gun on the table. Then just fucking do it already. Do it so I'll be done cleaning up the bullshit of a useless junkie. Oh, fuck you, Anon. Fuck you. I never asked for all of this. All I ever wanted was you. But all you did was push me away when I needed you the most. I sit down at the table and start drinking from the bottle of vodka, thinking how to handle this. I hear the bathroom door shut. And it really bothers me to type the next part. The next thing I heard was a gunshot and something hit the floor. I'm frozen and can't feel anything. Just sit there, staring at the wall for a good hour. After what feels like hours, I get up and just start sobbing like a baby. Walk out the front door and just started walking anywhere. I don't remember where I walked that night. But when I woke up the next morning, I was in the tunnel me and Deb used to hang out in. The end.
G'day cunts, Green here. Sorry for the interruption, but if you haven't noticed, YouTube has once again changed as a whole, with everything that I upload now being suddenly demonetized, and they need to be reviewed to go live, which delaying the process of any upload by multiple days. As well as this, channels similar to mine, like Nekopedia and Wavetitan, have been yeeted from the partner program altogether. Because of this, YouTube is now favouring quality over quantity, so there'll be fewer videos on this channel, but however, they'll just be a little bit more high quality. You'll see more stuff like the Superhuman video, and a little bit less green text, but longer ones like this. So, if you'd like to see me keep making this sort of content, please consider checking out some of my merch. I'm wearing a little bit of it now. Every design on the thing is different. How whack is that? There's other cool designs, like this one, and this one. Also, check out my Patreon for some fucking sick rewards, as well as my Twitter and Instagram for some fucking sick memes. Oh, and I'm also streaming on Twitch now, so make sure to keep an eye out for that, because there'll be announcements all over my social media whenever I'm live. Thanks for watching, cunts, and I'll see you later. Yay!